Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask Father Rob, where you send your questions into me, Father Rob, Baldwin of St. James Episcopal Church in Piqua, Ohio, and I answer them here for you on the air. Today's question is again about another passage of Scripture. This one's from the Gospel of Mark. It's from the 9th chapter. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you if I can. This is the 14th verse, again from chapter 9. When they came to the disciples, they saw a great crowd around them, and some scribes arguing with them. When the whole crowd saw him, they were immediately overcome with awe, and they ran forward to greet him. He asked them, "What are you arguing about with them?" Someone from the crowd said, "Teacher, I brought you my son. He has a spirit that makes him unable to speak, and whenever it seizes him, it dashes him down, and he foams and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. And I asked your disciples to cast it out, but they could not do so." He answered them, "You faithless generation, how much longer must I be among you? How much longer must I put up with you? Bring him to me." And they brought the boy to him. He goes on to cast the demon out of the child and heal the child before the crowds. But the question of the person who posed this one today was, Jesus' response seems unduly harsh to call people faithless and to wonder how much longer he must put up with them. Seems to be a little out of character from how we usually think of Jesus as a kind, patient, and compassionate man. My response to this question about what is this about, why is Jesus behaving this way, and what does this mean for us, is twofold. First of all, it's very important to remember, and I think we're often prone to forget, Jesus is a human being, fully human. Not just fully God, but also fully human as well. And as such, he experiences the entire emotional range of humanity, from sadness to happiness to, in this case, I believe, frustration. But his response to how that emotional state might be different from ours, in the way that we sometimes respond to certain emotions, but he experiences that entire range of emotions that we do as well. And so, yes, I believe that there are times in which Jesus had an emotional state that was less than genial and kind and compassionate, because that was part of being fully human. It's also important to point out that when you read the entirety of Scripture, and there are many other instances where Jesus behaves in a way similar to this, such as the death of Lazarus, but sort of look at the way that God interacts, speaks to people in the Old Testament. There is an element of God that is, at times, shall we say, very frustrated with the human condition. That our behavior, in particular our sin, our turning away from God, is something that displeases God. That God is not content to let this occur. Now, this is not to say that God isn't kind, loving, forgiving, compassionate. In fact, actually, I think that God's frustration, God's negative reaction to sin is part of God's love for us. Let me give you a parallel example. Say you're a parent of a child, and many of you may be. There are times in which your child may behave in a certain way that causes you to become frustrated. Do you hate the child? No. Are you even really angry with the child? Not exactly. You're primarily frustrated because you want the child to live a healthy life, to do what the child should do, he or she should do. And your immediate response when it doesn't happen is to say, "No, this is not right. And I want you to be different, to behave differently." And I think that is at the heart of Jesus' reaction. Some people have said, "Oh, he's angry at the demon." Well, maybe, but I think that's sterilizing the passage. Jesus speaks of the generation of people he's amongst, the generation who will eventually put him to death. And I think it's more grounded in either the crowd or the disciples themselves, who have failed to have enough faith to heal this poor child of the demonic possession, or as some have speculated, the epilepsy, because it certainly sounds very similar, that he has been suffering from. And so his disciples have failed to relieve the suffering and sickness of this poor boy, and now it has come to him to do so. And he wishes that this suffering and sickness, or the faithlessness of the disciples, was not the case. And again, he reacts out of frustration. Important to point out that despite that, he still goes ahead and heals the child. He still goes ahead and teaches the crowd. He still continues to have the disciples be his closest friends. He doesn't say, I'm laying you all off and I'm hiring 12 guys who know what they're doing. No. He continues to work with the people despite the fact that he's had this negative reaction to whatever it is that they've done. And that's good for us, because it means that there might be times which God might say, you know, you're not doing what I want you to do, but I'm not going to give up on you either, because I believe in you, and I will put the faith in you that you need to be able to heal the people that I want you to heal. Thanks for a really great question, and I love these kind of questions that really get into Scripture in this way. You can send your question to me, Father Rob Baldwin, care of St. James Episcopal Church, 200 West High Street, Piqua, it's Piqua, Ohio, 45356. Or you can email them to us at stjamespiqua, that's stjamespiqua @yahoo.com. You can now see us online on YouTube. Just type in Ask Father Rob in the search, and you can see all the back issues of episodes of Ask Father Rob, and be able to share them with your friends, and maybe have some thought-provoking answers given to you about questions that you might have. Don't forget to keep sending those questions in, and I'll see you here next time on Ask Father Rob.